Hello everybody, Tate Davis here with kind of a special video for you today. I'm in my living room right now, and I've long wanted to do a video sort of talking about my favorite drummers of all time, a top 10, and then I realized I love so many drummers that have inspired me and have given me a whole bunch of things for me to steal and incorporate in my own playing that 10 would just be too few. So then I thought top 20. And then kept leaving guys out, so then 25 and then 30. So you know what? I said, screw it, I'm going to do my top 30. So these are my top 30 guys, quote unquote. And I just want to preface this by saying that if you ask me a month from now, it could change. But these are my 30 guys as of July 15th, 2021. And like I said, these may change. Not in any particular order except for the last three. Those are in order. I'm going to name each one of them and sort of give a brief description of what their playing means to me. So, coming in at number 30, we have Mr. Mick Avery from the Kinks. Played in one of the bands that one of the greatest cult bands of all time, according to many critics. Just had a great time. Played some really interesting drum fills. Maybe not the most technically proficient drummer, but he could play up there with the best of them, especially on his playing on the Preservation albums. And his drumming on that live album, One for the Road from 1980, is just impeccable. Impeccable. I love Mick Avery to death. Really do. Number 29, Charlie Watts of the Rolling Stones. One of the best feels out of any of the British Invasion bands, especially with his technique of not playing the snare backbeats in unison with the hi-hat. Love Charlie Watts. That rhythm section of Bill Wyman and Charlie Watts is just impeccable. You're going to hear me use that word a lot with this list. Number 28, Mr. Eric Carr from Kiss. I actually have two Kiss drummers on here. Love Eric Carr. I like him a little bit better than Peter Criss. I think he was he was a much different drummer than Peter Criss, right? Eric Carr was more of a John Bonham type, while Peter Criss was obviously came from more of a jazz background. His double bass drum intro on the song Creatures of the Night, his intro on King of the Mountain. Just love Eric Carr. Really, really great double kick player. Number 27, Simon Kirke from Free and Bad Company. Love Simon Kirke. Always have. Again, maybe not the most technically proficient drummer ever, but came up with some really, really cool drum parts for all those classic Free and Bad Company tunes. And he really, really shows off his drum chops at the end of the Free song Fire and Water. So check that out if you haven't yet. Simon Kirke, love him. Number 26, Carmen APU from the Vanilla Fudge, Cactus. Beck Bogart in a Piece, Blue Murder, Rod Stewart. Played with everybody. Love Carmine. Love Carmine. Again, a great master of the double kick. Really great lengthy drum solos as well. Very entertaining to listen to play a drum solo because he always thought of new ideas to keep it entertaining when he would go off on the 15-minute extravaganza at Cactus concerts back in the day. So, love Carmen APU. Number 25, Peter Criss of Kiss. I mean, what can you say? His drumming on the Alive and Alive 2 albums are great. The drum solo in 100,000 Years is awesome. Again, I like Eric Carr a little bit better. I think Eric Carr is a better drummer from a technical perspective, but Peter Criss had great feel and was a huge influence on me in high school growing up. So, Peter Criss. Coming in next, the Fusion guy. He played with Freddie Hubbard. He played with Return to Forever. Probably best known with playing with Chick Corea's Return to Forever. Lenny White. I love his playing on Freddie Hubbard's Red Clay album. That's like my favorite album with him on it. I love the Return to Forever stuff too, but for me, the title track of Freddie Hubbard's Red Clay album is where Lenny's playing really speaks to me the most. Especially, he doesn't even play a drum solo in that recording. He just does like a break, doing these really cool kind of paradiddle and double type things between the hi-hat and the snare drum, which I always thought was really cool, instead of doing a really cool solo or a drum solo, a conventional drum solo. Love Lenny White. Coming in next, Gary Driscoll. And you're probably thinking, who's Gary Driscoll? Well, he played with Ronnie James Dio in Elf, and with Ronnie James Dio in the first incarnation of Richie Blackmore's Rainbow on that classic 1975 album. I may not be the biggest Elf fan in the world, but one thing I always really paid attention to while listening to Elf's music is the great drumming of Gary Driscoll, especially on the Trying to Burn in the Sun album. He had great feel. He had the great feel of John Bonham. Excuse me. And he had the chops of like Clive Bunker of Jethro Tull. It reminded me a lot of Clive Bunker from Jethro Tull. And there's all these bootlegs that exist of Elf back in 72, 73 playing Jethro Tull covers, and they do Stay With Me and By the Faces and War Pigs and all those. Excuse me. And Gary, dude, the guy could play. Again, excuse me, I'm sorry. The guy could just play, just roll around the kit. Just blows me away every time. And then his drumming on Self-Portrait from the first Rainbow album is really, really cool too. So Gary Driscoll. Coming in next, Mr. Bernard Purdy, the well-renowned jazz and pop session drummer. Best known for playing with Steely Dan, and for his signature shuffle, the Purdy Shuffle, which Jeff Beccaro and John Bonham reinterpreted for Rosanna and Fool in the Rain, respectively. Love Bernard Purdy. Really do. Guy had great feel, maybe a little bit of an arrogant personality, but nonetheless, I still love him. Just had a real knack for the instrument, and just looked like he was having a blast playing the drums, which makes me happy. So Bernard Purdy. Coming in after that, here are a few jazz guys right here. Alvin Jones. Alvin Jones is probably my favorite jazz drummer of all time. He played with John Coltrane. He played with Wayne Shorter. He played with just all sorts of people. I think he played with McCoy Tyner later on after they left John Coltrane's quartet. And, Guy always knew how to fill in spaces, but also knew when not to play. The best example of that is Crescent, the title track of that 1964 classic Coltrane album. It's drumming on My Favorite Things. Title track to that is great. The various live albums that the John Coltrane Quartet put out at that time is his ride cymbal swing just really kills. I love Alvin Jones. One of the first drummers to popularize the style of triplets that John Bonham would really, really, really bring into fruition, and everything, and Mitch Mitchell too. But yeah, love Alvin Jones. Similar to the next guy, Max Roach. Especially love his drumming on Sonny Rollins' Saxophone Colossus album, particularly on the track Blue 7. I also love the Drums Unlimited album that he put out in the 60s too. The Drum Also Waltzes I even covered and released that as a single. Love Max Roach. Love him. And then coming in after that, Mr. Jimmy Cobb. What I think a lot of people think of Jimmy Cobb, they think of his drumming on Miles Davis's Kind of Blue album, which is awesome. But, you know, they don't really think that he can get loud or play bombastic like. Those people would be surprised if they listened to any Miles Davis live album from that time, or some of the archival Joe Henderson live albums, particularly 4 and Street No Chaser. I'll tell you, man, Jimmy Cobb could do great playing quiet, but that guy was bombastic. Man, he is loud on those live albums, and he's great. Awesome. Love Jimmy Cobb. Coming in after that, Mitch Mitchell, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Like I mentioned before, he was very influenced by Alvin Jones. Love Mitch Mitchell. Really cool fills, really technical fills that probably didn't fit within the song, but he's just rumbling alongside Jimi Hendrix on some of those classic recordings. Next up, we got Cozy Powell. The drum intro to Stargazer speaks for itself. Again, another great double bass player. He's worked with the Jeff Beck Group, White Snake. Say what you want about those Tony Martin era Black Sabbath albums. Rainbow. Love Cozy Powell. Played with Brian May's solo band too in the early 90s. Love Cozy Powell. I always am blown away by his playing on the Rainbow on Stage live album and on the Rising album too. Just great drummer. Came out with some really cool drum parts. Really melodic drummer too. Accenting with what Richie Blackmore was playing on the guitar as well. After that, we got Bill Berry from REM. Another early influence on me. Again, not the most technically proficient drummer of all time, but he came up with some very unique drum parts for those REM songs, much in the vein of Ringo Starr. Some of my favorite songs with him playing on there are The One I Love, Driver 8, Bang and Blame, some of the early Pilgrimage, from Murmur, and countless others. Love Bill Berry to death. Very early influence on me. And from that same scene, coming after that, drummer that most people watching probably have never heard of before, John Poe from Guadalcanal Diary. He was the guy that inspired me to start taking up drumming. And particularly, it was his drumming on the song Pray for Rain from Guadalcanal Diary's Jamboree album. Those toms, man. The guy could play a tom groove. John Poe, again, maybe not the most technically proficient drummer of all time, but the guy came up with some really cool drum parts in the vein of Ringo Starr and Ginger Baker. I heard a lot of Ginger Baker influence in his playing. Really good drummer, John Poe from Guadalcanal Diary. From the southern rock end of things, coming up next, we got Brad Morgan from the Drive-By Truckers. A really great drummer, again, not the most technically proficient drummer. Here, do you sense a pattern in the past couple drummers? But great time, great feel in the Patterson Hood kind of compared him to Al Jackson Jr. from Booker T and the MGs, and I think he's bright. A guy who very type B, very laid back drummer that just put fills in the right places and really made those Drive-By Truckers songs come to life. So Brad Morgan. After that, we got Philip Peoples from the old 97s. Again, a very early influence on me. I loved his shuffles from that time. He was a drummer that came up with some really cool shuffles to really bring the songs of Rhett Miller and Murray Hammond to life. My favorite drumming performance by him is probably King of All the World from the Satellite Rides album. He's got some... Another one of my favorite tracks with him on it is the song Four Leaf Clover, originally on the Hitchhike to Rome album, but later re-recorded for the Too Far to Care album. Really, really brings that song to life. Again, reminds me a lot of Ginger Baker and some Kenneth Buttrey too. If you don't know who he is, he was one of the Nashville main session. He was one of the main session drummers in Nashville in the '60s. Since I heard a lot of his playing within Phillips playing as well. So, Philip Peoples from the old '97s. Coming in after that, I may not be the biggest fan of the band that he's in, but I always loved Levon Helm. His drumming on the Bob Dylan and the Band live album Before the Flood. That's all I gotta say. Go check that out if you haven't yet. Really unique drummer. Coming in next, Lee Kearsley from Uriah Heep. I mean, and Ozzy Osbourne's band too. And Tofat and Head Machine and all those bands too, but love Lee Kearsley. Bombastic, heavy, loud, great backing vocalist too. The drum intro Over the Mountain by Ozzy Osbourne, you know, in the vein of John Bonham, those Bonham triplets, awesome. And his drumming on the live version of Gypsy from Uriah Heep Live is also great too. And the drum breaks in between So Tired on the Wonderworld album, awesome. Lovely Kearsley. Coming in after that, we got Ginger Baker. I mean, what can you say about Ginger Baker, right? Great feel. Maybe not the nicest person on the earth, but you know, he left a legacy. One of the first drummers to use double bass drums along with Keith Moon. Love Ginger Baker. Sunshine of Your Love, Toad, We're Going Wrong, White Room, the live version of Spoonful from Wheels of Fire. Love Ginger Baker. Coming in after that, we got John Garner of Sir Lord Baltimore, a drummer that really reminds me a lot of John Bonham. And the guy could sing, too. He was also a singer. Really, without him, he was the reason, or he was one of the reasons why Kingdom Come and the self-titled Sir Lord Baltimore album were as heavy and influential as they were. Just listen to the drumming on Kingdom Come. And I think, based on the limited photos that I've seen, that he's only playing one bass drum on that album. It doesn't sound like it, but that guy had a fast right foot. Woo! Love John Garner from Sir Lord Baltimore. Coming in after that, Phil Rudd of AC/DC. I mean, come on. Who doesn't love Phil? One of the best feels in the business. Without those classic AC/DC songs, wouldn't be the same if it weren't for Phil Rudd playing those parts. After that, we got Alan White from Yes, but he also played with John Lennon and George Harrison and some other people early on in his career before he joined Yes. He may not be kind of playing as well as he used to nowadays, but back in the day, Alan was a powerhouse. Especially listen to any Yes recording from that time period. Very different drummer than Bill Bruford. I love Bill Bruford too. He's not on this list, but I love Bill Bruford too. But Alan White, I just like a little bit better. You know, say what you want about Tales from Topographic Oceans and Relayer, but Alan White is playing his ass off on those albums. Love his drumming on the Going for the One and Tormato albums too, and Drama as well. I love Alan White. Coming in after that, very little known guy from a very little known German band from the early 70s, Bernd Noske from Birth Control. His drumming on Stop a Little Lady from the Operation album, his drumming on the two live albums from the 70s, Titanic is another great song with him drumming on, a great vocalist too. Although later on in the 70s, they had another drummer come in and play drums while he concentrated on singing. But Bernd Noske, great. Very Ginger Baker-ish too. Another jazz guy coming in after that. We're getting to the bottom here. Mel Lewis. Excuse me. Played in a big band too, but he was best known for playing with Sonny Stitt. Particularly his playing on the Sonny Blows the Blues albums is some of my favorites. Some of my favorite recordings with him too. Particularly Blue Devil Blues, the great version of Frankie and Johnny. Very simple drummer. Didn't really fill in a lot of space. Comped when he needed to with the snare, and with a really good feel too. Loved Mel Lewis. He was also one of Buddy Rich's favorite drummers too. Coming in after that, Gene Parsons from the Byrds. I love Gene Parsons. If you just listen to the Byrds of the Royal Albert Hall 1971 album, and you will see what I mean. Holy crap. Love Gene Parsons. Great backing vocalist too, great banjo player, great acoustic guitar player too, but guy just kicked those Bird songs into high gear on that live album, and the studio albums with him on it too, like Untitled and Ballad of Easy Rider, Dr. Birds and Mr. Hyde, really good stuff. Love Gene Parsons. And then here are the top three. At number 3, we got Ringo Starr. Can't really say anything more about that, right? Ringo's legendary. Again, maybe not the most technically proficient drummer of all time, but, created some legendary drum parts. A great singer, too. Number 2, John Bonham. I love Bonham ever since I started playing the drums. Moby Dick. His hands playing, his fast right foot, his loud and bombastic style of playing, and his incredible feel. Without him, Led Zeppelin would not have been the same. And it is apparent that it would have been extremely hard for them to continue after he passed away in September of 1980. And then coming in at number 1, not a surprise here to anybody if you know me well, Keith Moon. Yeah, he was crazy. Again, not the most technically proficient drummer in the world. His contemporaries blew him out of the water in terms of technique. But you know what? Any drummer that just says screw you and throws the rule book out the window is a drummer that I want to be like, and a drummer that I look up to. Played fills that any other drummer wouldn't even dream of playing it. Maybe not a great singer too, but just had an explosive personality and expressed that personality behind the drums. He was at home behind the drums, and loved Keith Moon. And I love Kenny Jones too, but the Who were not the same after he died. I will just say that. And that's completes the list of my 30 guys. Again, I'm missing a lot of people on here. If you ask me a month from now, it's probably going to change. Yeah, I know Jeff Piccaro's not on here. I know Neil Peart's not on here. I know Steve Jordan's not on here. I know Mark Giuliano's not on here. Ari Honig. You can count a whole bunch of people that are not on here. Feel free to let me know the list of your guys in the comments below. And again, this is just my list. These are the 30 drummers that mean to me as of the time of this recording. And again, it may change. So thank you guys very much for watching, and look forward to more videos in the future. Bye-bye.